An expedition team goes into the deepest cave on Earth to collect samples and pictures of the cave, only to be hit by massive rainfall and a total disaster. Luckily, this team made it out alive, but there was one unfortunate individual who went in the cave but never came back. His body had to be retrieved in the most gruesome way possible. This is the breakdown of the Veryovkina Cave incidents. Located in Abkhazia in Georgia, the Veryovkina Cave is known to be the deepest cave on Earth. This cave is not only challenging, but is also 2,200 meters, or 7,200 feet deep. Because of its altitude, this cave is known to be extremely cold and humid, but those who go inside must carry a light source, because it is pitch dark inside. To get to the entrance of the cave explorers have to hike up to the mountain, which means they have to carry heavy gear just to get there, which includes thousands of meters of rope to descend down, which takes about 4 days, and another 4 days to get back up. This cave was first discovered by a group of cavers who decided to go down the narrow pathway at the beginning, which is not recommended for new cavers, or those who suffer from claustrophobia. The group took this pathway and descended down only 377 feet before they found a dead end and returned to the surface. In 1983, another team went down the cave, but discovered a newer path that led to another dead end, and that team was from the Veryovkina Club from Moscow that marked that place as P1-7. Between 1983 and 1986, this team discovered more and more pathways down the cave, and reached a depth of around 1,440 feet. The team then stopped exploring this cave till the year 2000, and continued exploring the cave until the year 2015, which is when they found a brand new shaft they could not continue to explore because they ran out of rope. This discovery, however, opened doors for later discoveries and unfortunate events. In 2017, the expedition team was able to set a new world record in terms of depths reached, and in September of 2018, the team led by Pavel Demidov decided to go in once again, but this time they had an English cave photographer, Robbie Stone, with them. The team went in. This cave has a total of 6 camps at different depths for explorers to rest and eat to regain their strength, before they can move on to the next challenge. After going through the first tight shaft that does an amazing job of causing panic, the team reached the first camp, which is at 2,000 feet. The camp is said to be a fixed camp, where some backup and emergency equipment is kept in case someone gets in trouble. It took Robbie and the team 6 days of going down a dark tunnel through a rope to get to a camp at the bottom. Another thing about this cave is that there's usually a stream of water running down the walls of the cave, for which cave explorers have to wear special clothes, shoes, and a helmet with a light mounted on it. Their camp was on a flat horizontal tunnel in the cave, a secure area where they could live before going back up. The team split into groups and set out to explore each section of the cave, while Robbie would take pictures of the cave and the lake at the very bottom of the cave. This lake was surrounded by black limestone, and the color of the water itself was turquoise. It was day 7, and the team was 2 members short, because those 2 had to leave early. But as they were making their way back up, they reported they saw something horrifying. These 2 explorers saw water in huge amounts and tremendous speeds making its way through the walls of the cave. Turns out there was a massive storm outside at the surface that caused water to start pouring in huge amounts into the cave at extremely high speeds. These 2 used the physical line they had been using throughout the cave to communicate with each other to warn the rest of the team about what was coming their way. Because of their experience, the rest of the team thought they'd handle the water that was coming, and thought they were safe, because this camp where they were staying was away from the vertical shaft of the cave, and pretty much safe. But only if they had seen the water coming in like the other 2 team members. They would have panicked and ran. When the water reached the team, the whole cave started to shake, and the sound of water rushing in was so loud that they couldn't even talk to each other without shouting at the top of their lungs. About 2 hours passed, and the water showed no sign of stopping. That is when the team got worried. The team continued with their breakfast when Peter Lubimov, one of the cavers, heard some kind of gurgling sounds coming from the edge of the camp. This sound was coming from a hole where they used to brush their teeth. The team decided to look into it and saw that there was water moving so fast that it was almost coming out of the hole. The team quickly realized that they are going to have to move fast, or they were done for. They quickly grabbed their gear, looked down, and saw that the 50-foot drop that they had seen before was now a lake, only 3 feet down. Because the water was rising fast, Robbie took the memory card out from his camera, put it in a Ziploc bag, and left the rest of his photography gear behind, because it would only slow him down. During their ascent, the water that was rushing in started forcing the cavers down, making it harder to breathe. The team, however, used all the strength they had to counter the force of the water and move 1 inch at a time. To be able to breathe, the team had to keep face down and chin tucked in to create a small space free of water and be able to breathe. Robbie and Jeff were in the lead while the rest of the Russian cavers were waiting for Pavel and Andrei to come back. Jeff and Robbie finally found a secure area in a side passage to wait for the others, but they had doubts whether the team would survive. Another Russian caver caught up to them, and they moved to the next camp, thinking the team was no more. But just then, the rest of the team miraculously showed up with sleeping bags and a stove. Robbie and the team waited 16 hours for the rain to stop in a secure area, and made it out alive in the next 4 days. This team nearly escaped death, but sadly, there was one explorer who could not. In 2021, a team of cave explorers who were about to go in saw a rope at the entrance of the cave, which is a serious offense, but no one knew who this rope belonged to. Then after a few months, the Perovo Spelio decided to go in once again and discover more parts of the cave by going in the same path they've gone to before so many times. But this time, they saw something different. At 1,300 feet, they found an ice axe that they couldn't explain how it got there, because of its position. There was no way it could have fallen down there unless someone put it there, and the only thing they concluded was that someone came down here and forgot their axe or left in a hurry. But that's not the weirdest thing they saw that day. These skilled explorers maintained their usual routine by stopping at different camps inside the cave to rest and get their energy back up before continuing with their exploration. As they reached deep down to 3,000 feet, which is almost halfway, they found a body curled in there in the worst way possible. Now they had to find out whose body this was. The body they found was of a man who was so decomposed that it was impossible to recognize who it was. The only thing they could figure out was that he was wearing camouflage overalls, trekking boots, and a helmet. He was carrying 2 cell phones for some reason, but the most haunting thing was that his corpse was still attached to the rope the man was using to get down. Authorities stepped in and identified him as Sergei Kozyev, a 37-year-old man from Sochi, Russia. They say he left his wife and kids behind to discover this cave all on his own. Sergei was an athletic man who used to play many different sports and just got into cave exploring, so naturally, he didn't have a lot of experience in it. Turns out, Sergei got into his car without telling his family where he was headed, parked his car in a remote location, and hiked all the way to the entrance of the cave. From his activities in the cave, the authorities estimated that Sergei stayed at Camp 600 for at least a week before he moved on with his cave exploring. The phone that Sergei was using had screenshots of the map that he used to navigate his way through the cave, but he made the mistake of going down the challenging part of the cave, where going in without help was a huge mistake. He reached the part of the cave where you have to be careful because you can't avoid the freezing water that is always hitting you in the face. and without the proper gear or expertise, it can cost you your life. Sergei, on the other hand, managed to keep going down further till he reached 3,600 feet, where tragedy happened. Sergei was probably not expecting water in huge amounts rushing in towards him, because he had gone in without a dry suit, so as he kept going down, he was still being bombarded with ice-cold water. Sergei realized he can't keep going down like this and wanted to go back up, but his body, by that time, got tired, so going back up was not an option. After countless efforts, Sergei passed out because his body could not handle the temperature, and lost his life. After not being able to contact her husband, Sergei's wife reported him missing, only to be discovered 9 months later. Liza Alert contacted Sergei's wife to recognize the body from pictures on his phone. Soon after the body was recognized, his wife asked the police to retrieve the body of her husband. The only issue was that there were a few areas inside the cave that were so narrow that extracting a body was impossible, and the only way the rescuers saw was by dissecting the body into 10 different parts. A group of 27 professional cavers that went inside were divided into two to retrieve Sergei's body and prepared for the gruesome task of what they had to do before they could get the body out. The group got a hold of the body, freed it from the rope, and transported it in 10 different bags. Going down the cave was nothing compared to the challenge they had to face going back up, because now the group had to oppose gravity, navigate through cold water, and go through those narrow or tight squeezes, all while carrying a heavy bag filled with parts of an actual human body. The group somehow miraculously crawled back up the cave along with all 10 bags perfectly intact for the family of the missing man. The authorities concluded that Sergei died by getting stuck in the deeper parts of the cave, causing hypothermia, which is a condition in which the body starts losing heat faster than it can produce it, due to a cold temperature. Sergei could have avoided all this if he had taken caution, taken the right gear with him, and had gone with a team instead of going in alone. Sergei Koziv's disappearance was only solved after a group of cavers found the remains during one of their trips. A Russian mountaineer, he entered Veryovkina and, because of insufficient gear, ended up trapped there for almost 9 months. It took so long to find his body because Veryovkina isn't a popular tourist destination. Being lost inside could result in months without speaking to anyone, as was the sad situation in this instance. Being alone when exploring Veryovkina Cave is risky, since it violates safety regulations. Koziv loved to play a variety of sports, but he was an expert at just one. The biggest error he made was entering the cave by himself. It seems as if Veryovkina Cave was just looking for another victim in the end. About a month before Robbie Schoen's expedition was almost being completely destroyed by Veryovkina's flood pulse, Russian cavers discovered rope hanging from the entrance. It was reported that they alerted the Ministry of Emergency Situations in Abkhazia, who on August 3, 2021, climbed all the way down to 3,600 feet to find a body dangling from a rope. They recognized the man as Sergei Koziv, a resident of Sochi, Russia, who had vanished in November 2020, roughly 9 months earlier, based on photos found on the body's phone. The world watched with shock as a delicate dance between life and the merciless underground took place as rescue efforts were initiated. Once beckoning with a mysterious allure, the cave now concealed a sobering secret. Let this terrifying journey serve as a warning to thrill seekers everywhere as we look back on it. Although the lure of the unknown can be strong, it's important to recognize the risks and be ready for anything that might come up. Uncontrolled cavern exploration is a common occurrence, and the Veryovkina Cave disaster is evidence of the wild forces that exist beneath the surface. The Veryovkina Cave expedition gone wrong is a sad reminder that nature can be unpredictable, even to the most daring of adventurers. There's a fine line between thrill and danger when pursuing the extraordinary, and this story emphasizes how important it is to approach such adventures cautiously. For everyone who dares to venture into the unknown, this story offers a powerful lesson. The disaster at Veryovkina Cave reminds us that we should always treat nature with the utmost respect, regardless of its location. What do you think about the Veryovkina Cave incidents? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to leave us a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be always updated with the most exciting content as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for watching. See you again soon in another video.